Hey Marquita, your logo's looking pretty good so far. I'm gonna show you some little tips to try and, like this area in here where the lines are really thin. I'm gonna show you some tips in addition to the line variety on how you can kind of beef that up a little bit, make it stand out a little bit more. I'll pull up your logo here in Illustrator. So I like what you started to do with the line variety here, but then you didn't continue it through here. So that's one of the things, if you're going to use line variety, try and keep it consistent. So I really like what you started to do here, but then it kind of dropped off with the rest of it here. Don't be afraid to really beef it up because that's giving it that 3D look to it. So here you have the 3D look. And then here it just kind of looks like it's like almost like a coloring book, kind of like you have the lines, but there's no dimension to it. So when you go in, I see that you already expanded it. Up here, go ahead and add a lot of thickness up here. I'm just going to do this kind of quickly, but start thickening it up. Don't be afraid to add that thickness because this is what's going to make the logo not only stand out, but it's also giving it the 3D look. So I played around with it a little bit. I put it on a black or a blue background so you could see it. So, to start to go through, and since I did it kind of quickly, it has kind of like a little bit of a bumpy look to it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You might want to play around with kind of giving it almost like a cartoony, kind of like illustrated look to it, as opposed to it being so straight and perfect like everything is here. You might want to play around with kind of giving it more of a stylized look to it. Don't overdo it, because then it'll just kind of look a little cheesy or maybe unprofessional, but don't feel like you have to make it perfect because it'll give it more of a style to it. Once you have that done, what you can do, I'll go ahead and actually copy this one really quick. There's another thing that you can do that's a possibility. Sorry, hang on. Let me just delete that. So once you beef it up a little bit, what you can do is make a copy of it, and I'll bring this over here. Let me go ahead and just delete this one. Okay, so we'll make a copy of that, and I'm going to put it on, this time, a blue background, again, so that we can see what we're doing. Okay, put that there. So one option that you can play around with, and I'm just going to Command 2 to lock that square in the background so I don't keep selecting it, is you can make a duplicate of this. So Command C, Command V. And now that I have the duplicate, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one here to create a big stroke around this here, basically putting like a big white shape around this so that it kind of gives it more of an emphasis and it gives it a background. You'll see as soon as we're done, it's one way of giving it kind of that kiddish style to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this, go to Object, Expand, and then from there, I'm going to use my Pathfinder. So if you don't have yours open, go to Window, Pathfinder. And with everything selected, I'm going to, in my Pathfinder window, go to the one, not trim, go to the one that says Merge. So it's the third one over. I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to do is it's basically going to make the entire thing one shape. So now I can take this shape and I can apply a stroke to the outside of it. So I'm just going to add a white stroke to it. Okay, and you can see that's what it did there. And I'm just going to beef this stroke up to, we'll start with maybe 4 and see what that does. Okay, so now I can take this shape and I can put it behind this one. Now the shortcut that I'm going to do is do Apple and then left bracket. And we can send it back individually until it gets back behind this shape. Okay, and then I can kind of put it behind that. And you can see what that does is it gives it sort of like another shape behind it to make it pop out. Now, some areas are a little bit weird. Like in here, you probably don't want this extra white area, so you can make this go away. Just make it like cover it with black or kind of take this up a little bit. And this is offset a little bit. So let's go ahead and we'll just center it on there. But you can see what it does is now when you have this on a background, ours is blue right now, but if I have this like on a black background, then now it pops out a little bit more. So instead of you having to change your colors to put it on a black background and then change them to put them on a white background, now it works no matter what background it's on. So if we have this on, for example, the white background, then, you know, it kind of look like that, and maybe you'd want to put the black stroke around it. Who knows? You can play around with it. So that's one option that you can play with just to give it more of a dimension to it. As far as the type, you know, I was playing around with stuff, and again, you would need to fix the inside part of it, but playing around with the type, I recommend doing something maybe a little bit thicker, more playful. You don't have to lay it out like this, obviously. I was just playing around with it. And of course, when I was messing with it, then this little guy came out. So you have like this little person standing there, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Unfortunately, he's a little bit conflicting with your main logo here. So if this is the symbol that you're trying to make like your main logo, then having this little person here might be a little bit distracting. So if you were just doing a word mark, that would be one option. Is, you know, if this was a different project and we hadn't already done this, then that would be one option, is you can make this little person here. But you might want to play with a different layout because he might be a little bit distracting from the actual symbol itself. So a couple of things to play around with. It's looking pretty good, but I'd like you to play with the style a little bit and play with the text a little bit more to do a little bit more interesting of a layout with the type itself. All right.